Hey guys, Jeff here with Ghostnet Gaming, and we are back with another console-to-screen movie review, and this time we are reviewing In the Name of the King, a Dungeon Siege Tale. So, as some of you are familiar with, this is based off the Dungeon Siege franchise of games, the first movie of a trilogy, actually. And we're going to take a little look at this one and some of the interesting things about this. This is one of the first ones that we are reviewing so far that has been directed by Uwe Boll. Remember that name, you're going to be hearing a lot about it. And, well, if you already know who it is, you already know where this is going to go. So we're going to take a good look at the usual suspects here, the story, the costumes, the effects, the accuracy, and the fun, and see overall how this movie actually did. Alright guys, let's get to the story. So first off, the story itself at the start seems to follow the core elements of the start of the original Dungeon Siege game. Then it starts getting weird. Overall, the story paces just fine. It doesn't seem to lag down anywhere. And amazingly enough, it has an absolutely all-star cast. We have Jason Statham in the lead role. We have Ron Perlman, Burt Reynolds, John Rhys Davies. We have both Matthew Lillard and Ray Liotta playing the roles of a couple of the villains in the game. And it seems like, oh, this should be great. But the problem is the acting does not relate to the story. The story itself is supposed to be about a rather generic fantasy RPG world, but this is anything but, you know, the generic whole as it is, because it kind of starts getting really weird. The first initial problem is the whole decision to name Jason Statham, who plays the lead character, Farmer. Now, in the original game, the main character is this farmer in a farming town who has his, town attacked by the Krug, which is kind of accurate. But because the character can be named by the player, the direction for the story was to just name him Farmer. And his reasons and whatever are really, really weird. Now, as we start progressing through the story, we start finding elements that kind of really don't make a lot of sense. There's a lot of subplot going on between, for example, Merrick the Wizard, his daughter is fooling about with the big bad evil guy, though she doesn't know it yet, and it's a very weak subplot for her trying to be, seen as respectful in the eyes of her father. There's the weird bits in the forest, the whole subplot of Matthew Lillard's character, Duke Fallow, trying to usurp his uncle and siding with Ray Liotta's character. The problem with Ray Liotta's character right off the hop is that he seems more fitting as a mob boss than an actual evil wizard. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. And as we start progressing through this story, there are a lot of elements that kind of just fall by the wayside or seem really half-baked. The farmer is the son of the king, a lost son of the king. It's really weak. In the initial part in Stonebridge, the farmer has his wife kidnapped and his son killed. But by the end of the movie, you rescue the wife, but the son is completely forgotten about. It just doesn't matter. We'll just make another one, is kind of the impression we get. And as we're progressing through, there's just some really weird elements that really make the story not fantastical, but far-fetched. Royal ninjas, all of a sudden, in a fantasy setting like this, where it's medieval fantasy, all of a sudden there's ninjas. And, we get to the end, the hero gets a group of companions to travel with him to the final castle, and then they all stand on the mountainside and just pat him on the back, hey, go, have fun! And they're just a cheering squad. And the problem is a lot of those characters are females, so it's a really, really bad impression to have all these characters that could be strong female characters just kind of left as cheerleaders for the main big guy. It just makes no sense, and it's really off-putting. So as a whole, we're going to give the story a rank D. There was just no cohesiveness to the story. It didn't make any sense by the end of it, and it really didn't get anywhere near, after the first little bit, to the original source. Alright, on to costuming. So, because Dungeon Siege itself was a very generic RPG as far as that kind of mechanic went, there wasn't a lot of identifiable looks or costumes to really worry about. So as a whole, okay, they kind of got the medieval look going until they got into the weird ninja bit, but who knows? And but other than that, you know, there wasn't really anything spectacular about this and about the costuming that really made it stand out per se. The costumes were good, but they didn't do anything to capture Dungeon Siege, I suppose is the best way to put it. So as a whole, costuming, we're going to rank this as a C. They looked good, but there wasn't really anything iconic to work with, so they just looked good. All right, on to the effects and special effects. Now, there weren't a ton of special effects in this game, or in this movie, and they kept it fairly low-key. Even the magic was kind of tame in compared to what it could be. There were a couple of moments where things kind of looked really weird. It definitely wasn't high budget. And now when we get into the fights and the fight choreography and the fight effects, all in all, I mean, Jason Statham is a solid action hero. Let's not argue with that. He's very good at doing very good action sequences. The problem is his style of fighting did not fit the setting. And once again, we have Royal Ninjas with really, really bad wire fu. Like, it's very obvious. There's a couple other characters like the wood sprites or whatever they are, the female forest dwellers. Their vine work is very fake, and so is the wire fu. It really doesn't fit it. And what the hell is up with the boomerang that Statham's character was using? It was thrown in right from the beginning of the movie, and it just never made sense, because as far as I know, in Dungeon Siege, you never get a boomerang. Ever. There's no boomerang even in the inventory to get. So what the hell is up with the boomerang? And it was just the boomerang thing was very Xena Warrior Princess Chakram cheesy. When you throw it in, it bounce off a bunch of people and go right to his hand. Old like 80s action film kind of catch and that kind of thing. It just, the action was okay, but it didn't fit the story that you were supposed to be in. So, final verdict on the special effects and everything, I'd give it a C. The action was okay, but it didn't match the setting. It just didn't at all. And the wire fu was terrible, honestly. All right, on to the accuracy to the story. Well, they got the world right. They got the enemy right. They got one of the characters right. Farmer, sure, he was from the farm. The first element's going to Stonebridge. Yeah, that's kind of accurate. But from there, that's it. Everything else goes off the rails. As far as I know, in the original Dungeon Siege game, you are not the son of a king. The lead villain is not this Galen guy, Ray Liotta, the mob wizard boss. And, there's just so many things that they threw in that just didn't make sense. We fought goblins in the first part of Dungeon Siege. There's no goblins in this. Just the Krug all the way through. The Krug are accurate. They are the big bad villain force that is causing problems and actually was invading Stonebridge and everything at the beginning of the game and attacked the farm, all that kind of stuff. But after that, it just, once you get past the initial part, if you've played the games, you're just kind of going, what's happening now? I have no idea what's going on. So let's just pass the verdict on this one. Accuracy is a solid D. Like, this was bad. Not great at all. Just some names were thrown in there to make it look like it, but that was it. All right, so fun factor. Was this fun to watch? I don't know. I really, really, if you were a fan of the original game, this was a travesty. You know, it was a typical Uwe Boll travesty. You know, taking something that people enjoyed, twisting it into some, you know, something that was far removed from what the original was. It it didn't make sense by the end of it, and it just got really, really weird. You know, despite an all-star cast, you know, and like Ron Perlman can make almost any movie thoroughly entertaining, and even he couldn't save this. You know, all-star cast: Burt Reynolds, you know, Burt Reynolds, John Rhys Davies, Jason Statham, Ron Perlman, you know, and still couldn't get it. Like, you know, it just, yeah. Here's the final verdict on the fun. It's a solid D, because, you know, it's a travesty that is kind of a train wreck you can't stop watching, but it's, yeah. All right, so that is the full look of it. Let's look at the overall score for this. After all is said and done, even with the costuming getting a bit of a rise, we're going to solidly score this one at a final D, because as a whole, it's even just a bad movie, let alone a bad video game movie. There's, you know, the direction is all over the place. There are elements of it that don't make sense. There's no attention to accuracy other than a few call out things. And just, even though the casting is great, at the same time, the casting in a lot of places don't fit the setting. You know, I think the only ones that kind of fit their roles just fine were John Rhys Davies as the wizard, and Ron Perlman as the companion for a little while there. You know, the rest of it just doesn't make any sense. The star power does not do it any favors in any shape or form. And though Jason Statham is a great action star, even his fighting style just does not fit the times, the setting as a whole. Just, yeah, it was just, I don't know. I've watched it way too many times to make any excuses, but there are so many better B action movies out there that do a fantasy setting better, and could have been a better Dungeon Siege movie than this was. That's basically it. So I hope you guys enjoyed checking this out. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of In the Name of the King. If you haven't seen it, don't see it. But hey, we may do a viewing of it over on my Discord, so if you want to see exactly how bad this movie is, you may want to join the Discord, check out my other social media as well, and join me on Twitch and everything else for all the other stuff and all the good games that I play over there. And we can talk about some good movies, some bad movies, and of course, always put in those suggestions for movies that you want me to check out that are video game related, and we'll see if I get a chance to get to them anytime soon. All right, guys, we're going to be back with another movie review and more top 10s in the near future. Have fun, keep gaming, and I'll see you guys again next time.